Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to VChat. Today, our topic is new ways to drive in-app user engagement and monetization. I am Virginia Liu from Agora, a real-time engagement platform for developers to embed voice, video, and live interactive streaming inside their application. Today, we have a special guest, Geoff Cook, founder and CEO of the Me Group. Hi, Geoff. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, tell us, where are you today? It looks like you are outdoors, someplace really nice.
Yeah, I am in Lake George, New York. Been working from home here for the last couple months. It's a beautiful place. I normally live in Princeton, but we have a place up here, and it's a good place to get away, social distance, plenty of space on the lake. It's been nice.
Yeah, it looks like a perfect place. I can see the view from the reflection of your window. I wish I can be there.
Yes.
All right, so before we get started, why don't you give us a little bit of a background about the Me Group and also about yourself?
Sure. So at the Meet Group, we build dating apps. We have 5 apps serving diverse audiences. MeetMe, which is the app I actually founded originally as my yearbook all the way back in 2005, 15 years ago. Skout, Tags an African American dating app. LOVOO, a European dating app, largely German speaking, also French and Italian. And GROWLr, a gay dating app. Together, we have 15 plus million monthly unique users, and those users are mostly in the United States and Europe. What makes us different and what we like to think of ourselves as is really the mobile version of the bar or the coffee house, this casual gathering place. And part of what makes that work is our focus on live streaming video. And we've been focused on adding live streaming into dating since 2016. And what we aim to do is really make everyone the star of their own dating show. We've created these fun little live streaming dating games. And in the midst of this pandemic, we've seen the usage of these dating games increase pretty dramatically. Our users are playing now 185,000 dating games a day. That's up more than 95% since just March. And then they're also in the live streaming platform that we built, both viewing and watching and streaming. And every day we're doing about 1.4 million hours of live streaming, either viewing or streaming. And then we monetize all of this through virtual gifts. So like virtual candy or a virtual flower or virtual yachts. There's dozens of different virtual gifts that people can give. And we think of that, if we're the mobile version of the bar or the coffee house, we think of the virtual gifts people give as kind of a way to stand out, to get more attention. If you want to get the streamer's attention, you can give a gift, and almost like buying a drink at the bar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, fascinating. So now, with the pandemic, with the social distancing, so you're seeing that more and more people move their dating life to online. Is that what you're seeing with the increase in usage?
Yeah. Now we've seen some pretty interesting trends with the pandemic. At the start of the pandemic, what we saw was that video was a replacement for real life interaction, and increasingly, what we're seeing is it's a filter. So as society starts to come back, people have started to kind of insist on having a video chat. More than half of daters in our surveys insist on having a video chat before they even consider meeting in person. Daters essentially don't have the risk appetite to have many frequent interactions with someone based on some shallow interaction like a right swipe. They're increasingly demanding this video chat to pre-qualify dates, to pre-screen them, and they're screening them for a lot of things. Looks, they don't want to be catfished, appearance, personality match, signs of coughing or illness. And so what I think we've seen with this pandemic is, 3 years of changing consumer habits all happen in 3 months, right? People have really taken to live streaming for everything from, live streaming on Zoom or Microsoft Teams for work, to FaceTime or Skype, for family members, and that has spilled over into their dating as well. And so I think the shift towards video is really something that's going to far outlast this particular pandemic. And the reason is that, people have gotten so accustomed that they understand the value in having a video chat before you meet up in person, right? Like, yes, people don't want to have exposures necessarily and risk getting the virus. But even when, we're on the other side of the virus, everyone has had their vaccine and we're no longer worried about it. Video still helps with helping you understand that the person that you're talking to on that dating app is actually what you expect them to look like. There's no real reason to meet someone without having a live stream first.
Yeah, that made total sense. Now, in addition to this one-to-one video that you allow the daters to kind of see each other one-to-one, but you also introduce interactive streaming. So you allow them to also become a streamer. You introduced the concept back in 2016. And that was pretty bold. So what prompted you to the idea of introducing streaming to dating app?
Yeah, I mean, it was a few things. So one, we've always kind of prided ourselves at, we've been in this business. I've been in this business since 15 years, originally founding an early social network called My Yearbook, which we pivoted into dating really in 2006. So pretty early. And, we have kind of prided ourselves at being at the forefront of different technologies. We moved to mobile from web, pretty early, and that's part of the reason we've been successful. And we saw live streaming video as this mega trend that was affecting social apps of all kinds. Certainly Tinder, certainly Facebook and Instagram were adding live streaming. We saw in China the success of YY. We saw it was working in dating in China on Momo. And we thought there's no reason, we can't have live streaming work in a dating environment here too. I think part of the reason we went down that path is because we've seen, various different dating games take off on television. There's been, 50 years of dating games, and there's been at least 50 different dating game formats. And live streaming is the sort of activity where everyone can be the star of their own dating game. So we sensed that pretty early, and at the time, we were 90+% of our revenue was coming from advertising. We were looking for a way to diversify away from advertising towards in-app purchase or other forms. And we thought that live streaming video was an excellent candidate for a potential hit. And as it turned out, that's what happened.
Yeah, and this is big decision, because I think a lot of people, me included, think of dating app as a tool, as a utility, right? So you download the app so you can find a date or find a future spouse. But with the introduction of interactive streaming, essentially you turn this potentially into entertainment, right? Turning into content entertainment business. So what do you see your, the apps or the Meet group? Is this utility, is it entertainment?
Sure. And, as we were talking about backstage, I think we both appreciate Eugene Wei's writings, but especially Status as a Service, where he talks about kind of the importance for consumer companies to maximize not just utility, but also entertainment and status to fully realize an opportunity. And, we kind of took that to heart. We felt like entertainment has always been part and parcel of dating. Why there's been television dating games. People think it's entertaining to watch other people date, but they also, I think, find it somewhat educational. Maybe they learn something that they can apply to their own, dating life. But if you look at dating, that's not how other dating apps have really been oriented. Hinge goes out there and says they're designed to be deleted, meaning you find a relationship and you move on, and maybe if that relationship doesn't work out, you come back. But there's no entertainment aspect to it. Tinder, with the swipe, has kind of gamified it, but it's still kind of a utility just to find a date for the weekend. We felt like adding video, especially live streaming, one-to-many, few-to-many, as well as one-to-one video, by adding these different video forms, we could actually create meaningful connections for our users. So we had in mind something like a Tinder meets Netflix sort of product where, people come to our apps to feel less lonely, and they send 75 million chats a day to other people in an effort to connect. But sometimes and frequently, they're just not receiving any more inbound chats. There's a gap, there's a lull in the product, and they've chatted everyone that they're going to chat with, and they've received as many chats. And in those moments, they can go off to some other dating app or go off to some other entertainment app. But what we appreciated was we can kind of address that loneliness, that feeling of loneliness that they have when they come into a dating app, and give them someone to chat with in real time that they could actually correspond with. They could 20 million text chats a day are happening inside of our video feature, where the video streamer can answer those questions in real time. And that feeling of connection, our survey shows, actually reduces loneliness when they feel like they don't have enough chats. And so it really just meshes extremely well with the core dating product. Video does. And I think we also think along the Eugene way, kind of status as a service, not just emphasizing utility. Utility is important. Our users are still coming for dates, first and foremost. And entertainment, that's important too. But then status, that's actually how we monetize. So people giving gifts, you can rise up the leaderboards by giving more gifts. You can be someone's what we call boss of the week, that shows that you're like the #1 fan of a particular streamer. This status is ultimately critical to how we monetize the video feature.
Fascinating. Now you've chosen Agora to power the video, the interactive streaming portion of your app. So can you share with us why you chose Agora?
Sure. So it was 2016 when we were first thinking about getting into video, and we certainly thought about rolling our own solution as well. But we weren't interested in reinventing the wheel. We really felt like our innovation came in the form of the community and what we could do with our community. So building interactive dating games, building cutting edge moderation capability, building real-time chat platforms, GIFs that kind of mimic kind of a dating behavior, interesting contests. This is where we really wanted to add our innovation, and we felt like we could get started on that much quicker by leveraging Agora than having to build the underlying streaming technologies ourselves. In fact, we were aware of a competitor at the time. We've since acquired that competitor, but we were both working, ourselves and this competitor, on live streaming. We chose Agora. They chose kind of a roll your own solution. And in the end, both products launched, and we could see, for ourselves that there was higher latency in the other solution. And ultimately, when we acquired it, we switched it to Agora. So I actually learned about it, Agora, for the first time having coffee with someone at Momo who mentioned it to me, and that made me look further into it.
Great. Well, so thank you so much for the trust in Agora and then the partnership. Now, I think that makes a lot of sense in terms of where you want to put your energy and innovation effort, right? Is to innovate the user experience, right? Come up with a new interactive experience for your end user, right? So, and then you introduce this really new concept, the blind date and the nest date. So for those of us who have been out of the dating game for a while, can you explain how those work? What is the nest date and the blind date?
Yeah, sure. So you think about next date and blind date as really public version of speed dating. So you're probably familiar with speed dating. Two people connect. In a next date game, you have a streamer, and then you have various people who can queue up to date that streamer. And anyone can stream, and anyone can line up. And the streamer, what they see is different conversational prompts. There are hundreds of prompts, and they could dismiss the prompts and ask their own questions too. But we give them prompts in case they run out of things to maybe ask. And the viewers get 2 minutes to where they're in the box, the guest box, and they get to make their case to the streamer on why they're interesting, and they chat and they banter. Meanwhile, there's viewers who are rating that contestant, and ultimately the streamer gets to choose either the next button or the date button on that person before the 2-minute timer runs out. If they pick next, they just go to the next person in queue and begin again. If they tap date, then they exchange one-on-one permission so they can contact each other later. And it's a really powerful tool. Blind date's kind of a spin on next date. And what blind date does is, instead of showing you who that guest is, that contestant in the box, in that guest box, what we instead do is blur that video stream. And that allows the first impression to be made with personality, opposed to just appearance. And interestingly, the matching rate goes up dramatically in the blind date scenario, because it kind of gamifies it, and I think it just gives people a chance to find themselves attracted to someone for some reason other than, you know, a split second look at their face. And then what we've recently announced just yesterday is one day a week, we're actually running a date night, and we'll probably increase the frequency of it, but we're running a date night 2 hours a day, where if you make a blind date or next date match during these events, we'll actually buy you a drink, which the way we do this is we give you a gift card for $10 if you meet your date at one of any number of establishments, 18 plus different establishments. It's in the US only right now, but we're looking at ways to potentially expand it.
Cool. Well, for those of us who are married, would you consider doing something like a day night for the married couple at some point in the future?
Oh, interesting. You know, there are, I get pitched with ideas for how do you maybe, is there ways to kind of extend to the relationship, right? So to help you maybe be a better dater, to help you maybe be a better relationship partner. That's not an area we've been focused on. I could imagine some interesting marriage-related dating games, though. How well do you know your spouse? Things of that nature. So it could well be interesting. But right now, because we really understand, or at least the way I kind of run the business is we really have 3 pillars of the company. And the first and foremost, you know, with a bullet, is build world-class, you know, innovative dating features to, you know, engage our community. And second to that is invest in new products and services. And live streaming would be an example of that, and where we can entice our users who are coming because they're getting these 75 million text chats a day, where we can entice them into other forms of content and increase their time with us. That's what live streaming has done. It's dramatically taken a portion of our users, you know, 20 to 30% of our users, and allowed us to spend an extra 20 plus minutes with those users while monetizing them at a high rate. But, you know, ultimately, first and foremost, we have to be one of the best dating brands. We have to provide a good dating experience to our users.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect segue to the second part of the topic, monetization, right? Because we'll talk a lot about the user engagement and the innovation around that. So let's talk about monetization. So you mentioned that introducing live streaming allow you to introduce virtual gifting, where in-app purchase as part of your revenue mix, right? So from purely advertising to that. So can you tell us about that shift? Like how much of your revenue mix is moving from ads versus in-app purchase, and what is it now?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, I don't want to get out ahead of our earnings, which I think we'll be reporting in the next week or two, but I can talk about 90%, more than 90%, as recently as Q4 of 16, when we started building out live streaming capabilities. That's when 93% of all of our revenue was coming from advertising. Today, you know, video IAP is more than half of our revenue, and it's the fastest growing segment by far. So video has really transformed the company, absolutely, every way it could. I expect video to continue to grow as a proportion of revenue as IAP continues to expand. And we also have some significant subscription business as well that we've added since 2016. We acquired LOVOO, that European dating app, which is mostly a subscription-oriented app. But even there, what's really fascinating about live video, we now operate live video on 5 different apps that we own, another app that we partner with. And of the 5 apps that we own, every single app we've added it to, it has become either the 1 or 2 biggest revenue segment, and some one with a bullet, in a very short period of time. So we've been extremely successful with the live streaming function really everywhere we've tried it.
Yeah, I looked at your first quarter filing, 10K, and then I've seen you disclose this concept of video average revenue per daily active user, VABDAU, and that number was pretty impressive. Actually, it's several times higher than the average VABDAU on mobile and web. And so it clearly indicates videos has much higher monetization power. So now my question for you is then, what percent of your users are using video, and how are you getting more users to use it?
Yeah, so in any given app, it's somewhere in that, I would say 15 to 30%. Average would be north of 20% of our users are in video. And it's the challenge is, how do you get more users to use it? I mean, the way we think about that problem is we create different hooks into the product. So, when people aren't getting enough chats, that's a key time when they're interested in video. So if you go to our chat screen, you will see, if you have no chats, you will see various videos that you can get into right now. We're just getting into events in part to drive more people. I mentioned the date night event. That gives us an excuse to send a push notification at the start of the event. And that allows us another way to try to hook people into video. But really, we think of it as, our users are coming back frequently for the dating product. We want to get as a higher proportion, and we think this number could be certainly 30%, north of 30%, into video. And then the other aspect of it is, how do we build video into the core dating experience? And that's where we're doing more with one-on-one video. We have some updates to actually our chat screens to make it easier to go from a one-on-one text-based chat to a one-on-one video chat.
Got it. Now, as part of your growth strategy, you've been acquiring a number of apps in the last few years, right? LOVOO, Tag, and Skout, etc. It seems that one thing that you've done consistently to add more value to your combined shareholder is actually introducing video. So almost like you're productizing this live interactive video. It's like a standard product that you can just roll out to those new companies and immediately earn value for your shareholders. So now, how are you seeing that? Do you see that as something that can really drive more value from all the existing dating app? And do you also see the potential of this product to go even beyond dating to potentially other potential industries?
Yeah. So, I mentioned the first two pillars of the company: build world-class dating features, invest in live streaming, other new products and services. The third pillar is really discover sensible opportunities to partner and acquire for audience. And to your point, if you back up to 2016, we basically made an all-in bet on live streaming. I didn't go into live streaming half-hearted. I said, this is going to be an extraordinary moderation challenge. We ended up hiring 500 paid moderators, investing significantly in various forms of AI to monitor for nudity, text, and so forth. And we were basically all in, right? Every engineer was on it. The team would have, if it didn't work out, the team would have undoubtedly lost some faith. Maybe so would have the board. And so I find when you're all in, that's a good time to double down if you can, right? And so we basically said, well, look, let's buy our competitors. We're investing in this fairly significant, spending tens of millions of dollars a year in development costs, in this significant asset, these games and this platform. Let's buy other apps where we can increase our audience size and apply, what we built to those other audiences. And over time, we got better and better at it. The first one probably took us 6 months to integrate. By the time we got to LOVOO, it was maybe 4 months. But what we found was that we got faster and faster at it. And now, what we're trying to get down to is 2 weeks to be able to integrate at least the bulk of what we do into an app within just a couple of weeks. And that allows us to then broaden beyond just owned and operated apps, and also include other apps that we can partner with. Maybe apps in the dating space, which is our bread and butter, but also apps potentially in the gaming space. Gaming has a lot of similarities to dating. You know, in the dating space, you care about ARPU and you care about DAU. That's what they care about in gaming. You care about lifetime values. A good game and a good social app, you know, have roughly similar day 30 retention. And so, and if you look at the trend in social dating, it's largely gamification. And if you look at the trend in games, it's largely social, adding social elements. So there's a lot of crossover, and we feel like there could well be lots of opportunities, not just in dating apps, which certainly are probably are most interested, but also in gaming.
Yeah, and now you talk about partnership with other companies with similar needs, and you actually roll out a partnership with Plenty of Fish under Match Group. So I believe that was in March this year. So and that's very interesting, right? Because most people may think of that as competitor, but actually you're able to partner with them and roll out the service. So can you tell us about that partnership, the nature of the partnership, and how that's going right now?
Yeah, I mean, relatively limited in terms of the things I could say about the partnership, other than, you can go to the Plenty of Fish app and download it and interact with the video streams right there. It is, we're extremely pleased with how things are going and with that partnership, and it seems like a win-win from our perspective.
Fantastic. Well, let's ask the last question from me. Where do you see online dating is going? What does it look like 5 to 10 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, 5 to 10 years is kind of a cloudy crystal ball, but I think one of the beauties of online dating is it's not going anywhere, right? Like in the sense that people are going to continue to want to meet and date. And I think it's stunning, frankly, that even a pandemic doesn't really fundamentally disrupt these online dating businesses, especially to the extent that they are video enabled. If I look out, a few years, I would say video is going to just be increasingly important to online dating. If you're meeting up with someone at a local coffee shop or bar based on just a right swipe and a few different text chats, that's not going to seem acceptable a few years from now. You're going to want to screen that user for appearance, for personality, so as not to waste your time. But of course, in any interaction between two strangers, there's safety risks. Now there's virus risks. And so from risk mitigation, I think people are going to build video in. So that's just from more of a utility perspective. From an entertainment perspective, I think we haven't even scratched the surface of the sorts of things that you're going to see. Like The Dating Game is an iconic television show. The Bachelor is as well. What are going to be the live streaming analogs to that sort of programming? I think we're going to see it. I think you're going to see. We're certainly looking to build it, but I think we're going to see lots of different companies pursuing live streaming strategies beyond just helping people connect, but also helping them be entertained at the same time.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, we're now going to open up for Q&A for our live audience. Now, before we do that, I want to remind everyone we do have a survey. If you go to the chat window, please fill it out. We'd love to hear your input and your feedback. Now, for those who want to ask a question live, there's actually this button. It looks like a hand. Just raise your hand, and then we'll put you in the queue, and then we'll bring you into live stream. But if you don't want to be on the live stream, you can also just ask the question on the chat window. So we're going to open that up now. While we wait for people to think about the question they're going to ask, I have one more question for Geoff. Who is your favorite superhero and why?
Well, to be honest, I'm not super into the superheroes, but my daughters are watching every single Marvel movie right now, and I think that so I've picked up some of it, and I would have to say I think it's Bruce Banner, the Hulk, maybe, only because he encapsulates kind of maybe my personality.
Is it green or being angry?
Well, that's the thing, right?
Great. Well, thank you so much. All right, let's open up for questions now. Let's see who is our first lucky person. And I can also look at if there's any question in the chat window. Don't be shy. There are some questions. All right, here we have a live audience. Hello, Bruce.
Hello there. Thanks, Geoff, for taking the time today. Very interesting. Excuse me. You talked about the 3 pillars of your business. One being build world-class features, the other invest in a new product and services and other forms of content. But you didn't get the chance to talk about the 3rd pillar, and I'm curious, what's the 3rd pillar?
So the 3rd pillar is discover, sensible opportunities to partner and acquire for audience. And so, we've built this big, live streaming video capability, leveraging Agora technology as well. And we want to be able to bring that to other companies that we acquire. And that was why we looked at acquiring, 4 different companies in the last few years. But then we also wanted to bring it to different companies that we can partner with through a video platform as a service product. And so we're always looking for kind of out of the box creative ways to grow our audience. It's always difficult to grow audience. So that's the 3rd pillar.
If I can have a follow-up question, what would you say that the most effective form of media you use to attract new users?
Yeah, I mean, we spend a significant amount of money on paid media, on Facebook, Google, Snapchat, some affiliate networks. So I would say direct response per install. That's where we're spending the most money right now. Not so much on television or radio, for example.
Okay. Well, again, thanks for taking the time today, Geoff. It's been a pleasure.
Happy to.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruce. Okay, let's bring in our second person, either live or I can take a question from the chat window. All right. Hey, Sid.
Hey, Geoff. How's it going? Hey, Virginia. Great topics.
Hey.
I learned a lot personally today. One of the questions I had was, I was doing my own research in terms of just the dating app space and really looking at, Tinder's average session length versus MeetMe, and MeetMe, blew it out of the water, almost more than double. So my question is really around, what do you think video had to play? Like, what hand did video have to play in that average session time? Do you think that was one of the key drivers? And the reason why I'm asking is it seems like you guys have a lot of different unique tricks and tips, within the dating space that you can't really replicate in the real life, right? When I go to a bar, like you said, it's that split-second decision of looking at someone and, making my decision, do I go up to them and talk to them or not? Whereas, you've added more and more techniques to screen the person for the personality, have the blind dates, all of that stuff. So do you think video is one of the key drivers that allow you to increase that session time compared to the other vendors in the space?
Yeah, and I don't know offhand, of course, and I do have great respect for the Match Group and Tinder and also for Bumble. So I know what their session lengths are, but I would say that video is a core driver of our session length. For our users, that 20 to 30% of our users who go into video, they spend a lot more time in video than they do in the core product, as much as 30 minutes a day. Whereas in the core product, they might be in 10 minutes a day. So it's a dramatic driver of session length for the users in video, which is a significant slice of our users.
Got it.
And to your point, yes, we are really interested in that bar coffee house dynamic. We think that's how people have been meeting for a long time. It's more casual, less intentioned environment, and video is really good at kind of simulating that sort of environment.
Totally, right. You don't know what to say when you walk up to someone, but when you have a dating game to play, it's an easy icebreaker. So it totally makes sense. Well, appreciate your time, and thanks for joining VChat.
All right,
Great,
thank you.
Thank you, Sid. Now I'm going to take a question from the chat window. We have Amika, CEO of Do Stream. The question is, do you have any plan to integrate AR as another level of gamification?
Yeah, it's something that we do think about, especially in the form of the gifts that our users are giving. Like, if you give a particular gift, maybe you put a mask on the streamer, or change that streamer's physical back, or virtual background. Right now, I would say that's kind of the main area that we're exploring with respect to AR. I think with respect to AR and VR generally, there's likely a lot of opportunities in the future, but we don't yet see, for example, on the VR side, enough users to really necessitate a big investment there yet.
Mm-hmm. Yep, great, thank you. And then there's another question from the chat window. Actually, this is from our own Todd Anderson. Given the unique expertise TMG has developed in and around talent development and curation, monetization, live streaming, etc., I'm curious where else you think TMG can extend these capabilities?
Yeah, so I would say, and hey, Todd, thanks for the question. But, I would say a lot of our focus is, especially in the latter half of this year, is on some what we think are kind of interesting core dating products. Some of them include video, some of them don't. So, I really think that there's a lot of runway in dating. I think there's a lot of things that still haven't been tried around compatibility. I think even just the inbox is a place where a lot of innovation can happen. They're still very simplistic. And then, of course, on the video side, we'll look to continue to do relatively innovative things, like yesterday's announcement, where we're basically giving out up to $100,000 a week of free first dates for people who meet during our date night events. So, I think the innovation I would see going forward is on the core dating side and on the video side. Are there other types of content or services that could have that sort of dramatic impact that video has had on us? That's still unproven.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Geoff, and thank you, Todd, for the question. Now, do we have any other live audience want to raise their hand? Anybody want to go live? No? Okay, I think our audience is a little bit shy today. Let me see if there's any additional question on the chat window. There is another question on the chat window from Jen, from Flutter developer, a Flutter developer. Do you think that video presentations will be preferred in the future and not images as now in dating apps?
So video presentations rather than images in dating apps. It's an interesting question. So it wouldn't surprise me to see. This is actually our third foray into video, and this is the successful one. The other two failed. The first, we were basically trying to. It was when everything was web and not mobile. We tried to combine synchronous social games with web video in order to make introductions, almost like a chat roulette, but with gaming to kind of break the ice and good moderation. That ended up just being awkward and not working. The second was kind of exactly what you're talking about, and I think this was in like 2012. We came up with an app called Charm, which we described as basically Tinder meets Vine. So instead of swiping through photos, you swipe through short looping videos, 9 seconds, like a Vine-like video, if you remember Vine, which is no longer. But that actually didn't work either. And the reason was because the friction to have a user put their face on video was quite high. And I think maybe today more people would be comfortable with it, but it's still quite high. But I think that you are seeing, I believe some of the Match Group apps might have an Instagram maybe video that comes in, but you are seeing kind of dating profiles find ways to add video to them. And in general, you've seen this increase in authenticity on the dating profile. Every dating app knows that combating catfishing is one of the more important things to do. And you can take a very stylized photo that may even be recently taken, which may look nothing like what you might look like in real life, right? With the lighting, the angle, and so forth. And video makes that harder. That might be a reason why people don't want to use video too, because it shows them who, for kind of who they are. Live streaming video, I think, is interesting because you get a personality feel. You get an interaction, and like in our blind date feature, where the matching rate goes higher when we blur the video than when we don't. Like that strikes me as having some reason to have faith in humanity, right? Like that you can make a first impression with personality instead of looks, and maybe video is actually a way to help do that. Video done in the right way.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And we have another question in the chat window. What are the most important metrics to measure engagement?
I mean, there's any number of metrics, of course, that you could be looking at, but we look at total minutes in the platform. We look at total number of unique streamers, unique viewers per minute. Minutes per viewer. Of course, we're looking at monetization-related metrics. We're looking at those metrics both from a point of view of like new users who might be new to gifting, as well as repeat buyers. So there's a number of ones that you can look at, but I'd say they all bubble up to VDA for us. They all bubble up to VDAU. So what's our share of DAU in video, and VARPDAU, and how much does each of those video DAU monetize? And then below that, you have metrics that sum up to those.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the answer, and thank you for the question. Well, I think we are at time. I think we got a lot. Actually, we may have some additional questions lined up. We'll make sure we get back to all of you if we didn't get a chance to address your question. But also, Geoff will be at the social lounge. So if you have some time after this live session, you can meet with Geoff at the social lounge. Feel free to grab a seat as long as you save a seat for Geoff. All right. Well, again, thank you all so much. Thank you, Geoff, and thank you all the live audience. We'll really appreciate your time, and you all have a great day. We'll see you at the social lounge. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great. I'll go over there.